Okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to give you a set amount of time to work on the problem and try to set it up by yourself. Okay? So I'm going to give you about 2 minutes to solve this problem by yourself. And then I'm going to give you a few minutes after each step. Okay? My advice for you when you take the test is to look at the word problems first. Okay? You're going to have to read, and you're going to have to reread, and you're going to have to reread. But that's okay. Yes. Okay. Check and see if your picture kind of looks like this. Okay, we've got this city in the middle. 2 cars leave the same city and they're traveling in opposite directions. Okay, so we have car 1, and then we have car 2. Okay. 1 car travels at 50 miles per hour. And the other car travels at 70 miles per hour. Now, what I want you to do right now, just right now, is I want you to use the formula distance equals rate times time for each individual car. Okay? So for car 1, give me a distance 1, and for car 2, give me a distance 2. So do D2 equals, so you're just setting up that part of the equation. Okay. So what I hope you have, and this is what I want. So the distance that my car 2 travels is 70 miles per hour times the time. Okay? Now my time is the same in both of these because they left the same city at the same time. So distance 2, that's only for my car 2, is 70 times t. Yes?
Does it matter which side we put car 1 or car 2?
It does not. It does not. That's a great question. It does not matter which side.
And can we use like A and B instead of 1 and 2?
Absolutely. Yes, you are 100% correct. Okay? So who wants to tell me how I write for the other car?
50 times t.
Excellent. Okay, 50 times t. Okay? Now, the distance that the first car traveled plus the distance that the second car traveled, are we told the total distance between the 2 cars? What is it? 240. Okay, now, can I take this D1 and put in this instead? Yes. So I'm going to have 50t plus, what do I put in for D2? Okay, and that equals? Excellent. Okay, and I'm going to give you about 30 seconds for you to solve that. Okay, so when you added 50t plus 70t, you got 120. Okay, my last step here is to divide both sides by 120. So t equals what? 2. And what are we talking about? We are not talking about miles per hour. We did have 70 miles per hour and 50 miles per hour. 2 hours. Good. Excellent. Excellent. So we are talking about hours. And we can go back to this right here. How long will it take? That's kind of our key word right there. Are you guys okay going to the next one? Okay. So what I'm going to do first is I'm going to give you 2 minutes to try to do this on your own. And then we'll break it apart piece by piece. Typically width is the shortest. It doesn't matter which way you draw it. It's just the shorter of the two. And it doesn't matter which one you label what, you're still going to be okay. Okay. What are we talking about here? What kind of shape? A rectangle. And that would be the first thing that I would do, is draw a rectangle, because that's just going to help me kind of get to thinking about what's going on. So here's my rectangle. Okay. Typically, your length is the longer side and your width is the shorter side. But it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter how you set it up. It's going to work. Okay? So we've got to deal with this. The length of a rectangle is 1 centimeter more than 3 times its width. We do have to deal with that eventually. But I wouldn't deal with it first. I'm kind of easing into it. What might I deal with first? The perimeter. What is the perimeter? 50 centimeters. Okay. So the perimeter of this is 50 centimeters. Now you will be given formulas, but does anybody know what the formula for the perimeter is? Good. 2L plus 2W equals P. Now what can I put in for that P? 50. Okay. Now I want you to take 10 or 15 seconds and I want you to decide, how am I going to write 1 centimeter more? Okay. And that is written plus 1. 1 centimeter more is written as plus 1. Now, when we are talking about addition, if I have 1 plus something or plus 1, it's fine. When I am talking about subtraction, the order matters. If this had said 1 centimeter less than, I would have had to write it minus 1 and I would have had to write it second. Okay? So that more than and that less than, that's kind of your key that I'm going to have to write that second. So this is plus 1. Now I want you to write 3 times its width. How do I represent 3 times its width? I'm going to give you about 10 seconds. Good. Okay. 3 times its width is 3W. Now you are going to put that together. You're going to put that together, and what does that represent? The length. Good. So I want you to put 3W and plus 1 together, and I want you to identify one of the sides of the rectangle as the length. Okay. I am going to put 3W plus 1 right here. I'm sorry.
Sorry, that's what I thought.
Yeah, 3W plus 1 right there. Now, I'm doing that to show you that it doesn't matter if I put it on the short side or the long side. Okay? So if others of you put it here, which is probably where I would naturally put it, is on that longer side, but I just want to show you that it doesn't matter. Okay? The place that students get stuck is right here. They get stuck right here. They're like, okay, I've got this 3W plus 1, but I've got to have another side to the rectangle. Okay? What is that other side? W. Okay? We forget that this side is W. So then I put W. Okay. Now I'm going to give you about 30 seconds. I want you to plug 3W plus 1 in for length. W is going to stay my width. Okay. Once students get here, they're typically okay. Once students get here, they're typically okay. I'm going to give you 1 minute to finish this problem. Okay. So, what I hope that you did, 2 times 3W is 6W. 2 times 1 is 2. 2W. Okay. I have like terms, 6W and 2W. Did I mess up? Okay. I'm going to subtract 2 from both sides. I get 8W equals 48. What's W? 6. 6 what? 6 what? Centimeters. Where'd you get the centimeters from? Yep, from the word bulk. So it says if the perimeter of the rectangle is 50 centimeters, okay, that's one place. The length of a rectangle is 1 centimeter more than, that's another place. So we are talking about centimeters. Now, I have found that my width is 6 centimeters. Okay? I want to know what my length is. What do I do? Good. So I have 3 times 6 plus 1. Take about 10 seconds to tell me what that is. Okay. It's 19. Excellent job. Okay? So the dimensions of my rectangle are 6 centimeters by 19 centimeters. So don't hesitate to go back and look what that final question is. Find the length of the rectangle. Find the length. So after you found the width, you had one more thing to do.
I think that's where I'd be messing up when it comes to these problems, because I would stop at a certain point.
You stopped too early. Always go back and read that very last sentence in the word problem, and that's going to kind of key you in. That'll key you in. Okay? This one's a little different, and you have not seen one exactly like it. So, this is going to make your brain work a little bit. I'm going to give you 3 minutes to try and solve this one. Then we'll take it step by step. There are 4, one of each kind. No, because it's a triangle.
So 8 equals 1.5 to 8.
That's the area of a triangle. Okay? So the perimeter of a triangle is just side 1 plus side 2 plus side 3. Okay. This one does require us to think a little bit differently because we're not talking about a rectangle. We're not talking about a rectangle, we're talking about a triangle. And just like you were saying, what formula do I use if I'm talking about a triangle? Okay? The definition of the perimeter, so if I had a triangular yard and I wanted to build a fence on that triangular yard, I would just add the 3 sides together. So what I have here is I have a triangle. Okay? Always a good thing to draw a picture. And it says the perimeter of that triangle is 42 inches. Okay? So we know our final unit is going to be inches. Okay? We find the perimeter of a triangle by adding side 1 plus side 2 plus side 3 together. Okay? That gives us the perimeter. So I'm going to take away my P, and what am I going to put there instead?
42.
Excellent. Okay? So I've got 42. Now, the second side is 1 inch. I want you to write 1 inch. How do I write 1 inch? Or, I'm sorry, 1 inch more than. I guess I probably should give you that. How do I write 1 inch more than? What did you say? Plus 1. Good. Okay. Then how do I write twice the first side? 2 times x. Yeah, but what you were going to say W? That's fine. You could label it whatever you want. So here's the first side right here. We're just going to label the first side x. That's where students get stuck. Okay? They don't realize that I've got to arbitrarily make one side x. Okay? So then I've got plus 1, and then I've got twice the first side, so that's 2x. How do I write that together? How do I write that together?
2x plus 1.
Got it. Okay, so here we are, 2x plus 1. The third side is 1 inch less than. That's important. How do I write 1 inch less than? Good, and it's got to go second. It's that less than. And when you write that minus 1, typically students get it right when they break it out, and they write that minus 1. Now, how do I do 3 times the first side? Good. Okay, now, this has to be written 3x minus 1. Now, the second side was 1 inch more than twice the first side, and we wrote that as 2x plus 1, and that's an excellent habit to get into. Because then when you hit a less than, you typically get it right. You can typically do well with that. Okay? Okay. Now, what is side 1 of this triangle? What's the, how do we have it represented? X. Good. Okay. How do we have side 2 represented? Okay. And how do we have side 3 represented? Excellent. And what all of those added together, they equal?
42.
Excellent. Okay, now I'm going to give you 1 minute to solve that.
You combine them like terms.
Yes, absolutely. And there's nothing inside those parentheses, like you're not distributing anything with those parentheses, so you can just drop those parentheses. So the next rewrite doesn't have to have any of the parentheses in there.
66x equals 42.
Oh, yeah, you're right. Okay. So I am going to rewrite this without the parentheses. So I just have x plus 2x plus 1 plus 3x minus 1. Okay. My 1, my positive 1, and my negative 1 give me what? 0. 1x plus 2x plus 3x. Good. So we have 6x equals 42. We divide both sides by 6. X is 7 what? Inches. Oh, we're not, yep, inches. Okay, now, this is only telling me one of the sides. 7 inches is just this side. How do I find out what the second side is? Good. So then I have 2 times 7 plus 1, which is?
15.
Excellent. Okay. Then for my third side, I have 3 times 7 minus 1. Excellent. 20 inches. Good job. Okay. The next one is an inequality. It's an inequality. Okay. Is it okay if I move off this? I just saw a couple people writing and so I paused. Okay. So this is an inequality. And I'm going to give you 3 minutes to set this up by yourself. And it is an inequality. An inequality. Okay. Okay. Marsha is bowling. Marsha is bowling. How many games has Marsha played?
3.
How many has she played right now? 2. She's only played 2 games. Okay? How do I find the average of just those 2 games? How do I find the average of just those 2 games? What would I add together and what would I divide by?
You would add 142 and 170 and then divide by 2.
Excellent. Okay, now let me tell you what I've done right here. All I have done right there is I am finding her average of those 2 games. I'm not even dealing with that 3rd game yet. I'm only finding the average of those first 2 games. So if I added those 2 together and divided by 2, I would have the average of the first 2 games. But that's not what I want. I want to have this extra game in there. Do I know what that extra game is yet? No. So how can I represent it? X. Okay? And when I add that unknown game in, I'm no longer dividing by 2. What am I dividing by? 3. Okay? Now, she wants to have a 3rd game so that she has an average of at least 160. So, in order for you to determine what sign you need to put here, you need to think, okay, is 160 acceptable for her average? Yes, it is. So that means we're definitely going to have an or equal to. Okay? We're definitely going to have an or equal to. Is 165 acceptable? Yes. Is that greater or is that less than 160? Greater. Okay? So we're going to use our greater than sign. I could also have said, is 158 acceptable? And that's less than 160, so we would say no, so we don't want the less than sign. So what am I going to put it greater than or equal to? 160. Now I want you to take 1 minute to solve the inequality. Solve the inequality. And in about 15 seconds, I'll give you a hint. What's the first thing you got to do? What do you multiply both sides by first? 3. Good. You got to multiply by that 3 first. Very common mistake here is students don't multiply by the 3. It's a very common mistake. So be sure that you're multiplying both sides by whatever is in that denominator. Multiply both sides by whatever is in that denominator. So that's the first mistake that students make. Somewhere, for some reason, something that students do, I guess we don't see a lot of inequalities or equations set up with a 1 in front of the x and then something that you're adding. For some reason, a lot of students end up writing this instead of 312 plus x, they write it as 312x. What operation are you doing with the 312 and the x in the green? Multiplying, and that's not what we're doing here. What are we doing? We're just adding. We're just adding. Okay? And the way we undo addition is we subtract. Okay? practice that subtraction. So we have 480. Okay, I mark out my 8 and put a 7. Okay, 10 minus 2 is 8. 7 minus 1 is 6. 4 minus 3 is 1. Okay, so what does this mean? What does this mean? X is greater than or equal to 168. What does that mean? What does she have to score? 168, or can she score 169? 170? What, can she score 165? Okay, Jake, why? Why can't she score 165?
It's under 168.
Good, excellent. Okay, so she's got to score, what's her name, Marcia? Marcia must score 168 or what? Higher. Perfect, thank you. Good job. Good job. Yes, ma'am.
When would the signs change?
In this situation, it won't, but you're just asking in general for inequalities, when does it change? It changes when you divide both sides by a negative. Okay? So, and this is a completely different problem over here, guys. If I have negative 4x is greater than or equal to 16, oops, I forgot my x. Okay, let's try that again. If I have negative 4x is greater than or equal to 16, and I divide both sides by negative 4, that's when I have to reverse my sign. Because I divided both sides by a negative 4. If you multiplied both sides by a negative number, you would also reverse it, but we don't do that nearly as much as we divide. Almost all of our problems are division. We don't multiply by as much. But you would still reverse it if you're doing both sides. And it's because this number is negative. Because what we're doing to both sides is negative. That's why we reverse it. Good question, Jennifer. Okay.
So these are the 4 types of questions that
I did 2 perimeter ones. You're only going to have 1 perimeter one. And here's the last one that we're going to do. One more. Okay, you ready? Okay. Tina purchases a suit for 40% off. Okay? Tina purchases a suit for 40% off. She paid $43.20 for the suit. What was the original price? Okay. Okay, I'm going to give you about 1 minute to process and think through that, and then I'm going to tell you where most people make their mistakes. About 1 minute to see how far you get. Okay. $43.20, that's the discount price. Okay? Is my original price going to be more or less than that? It's going to be more. Okay? So you got to think about that. You got to think about that. Now, 40%, and this is the leap right here. This is where you have to make a leap. 40% off. If she got a discount of 40%, what percent of the dress did she pay for? 60. Excellent. That right there is the leap. So she paid 60% of the original price, and 60 cents of the original price equaled what? Excellent. Whoops. $43.20.
So question, where did you get the 60?
Good. Where did I get the 60? And that is an excellent, excellent question. Okay? A product original price is 100% of that price. So if I buy something for $100 and that's full price, then my daughter goes and the next day they're having a 40% off sale of something that's $100. How much did she get to buy it for? $60, okay? That's where I got it. So think of the original price as 100% of that price, okay? She did not purchase 40% of that. So she said 100% minus the percent off gave her the percent paid. So she took 100% minus the 40%, because that's what she got off. That's where you get the 60%. And that's an excellent, excellent question. You just need to subtract it from 100. That's what you need to do, is subtract it from 100. Now, how do I represent 60% in decimal form? 0.60. Okay. Of means multiply. So 0.60 of my original price equals $43.20. Okay, so that's the equation. I'm going to give you about 1 minute to do that equation. And the hint that I'm going to give you here, multiply both sides by 100 to get rid of those decimals. Okay, when I multiply 0.60 by 100, how many times do I move my decimal? Twice. I only move it once when I multiply by what? 10. Excellent. So I move it twice. So I have 60x equals, okay, 43.20. I move it how many times? Okay, so I get $43.20. I get rid of the decimal. Okay. I'm going to divide both sides by 60. Okay. 4,320 divided by 60. Now, I have a 0 here, so I can mark out this 0 and I can mark out this 0. That's because I have zeros on the end, so it makes it a little bit easier. How many times does 6 go into 43?
7.
Good. And 7 times 6 is 42. Okay. I'm subtracting. How many times does 6 go into 12? 2 times. Good. So my original price, $72. Good job. Good job. Now, some techniques. Okay, a lot of times your word problems are at the very end of the test. I would encourage you, as soon as I put that test in front of you, to open it up and look at the word problems. As soon as I put it down, look at the word problems. And write down what you remember. Okay? Start writing down. Then, if you can do all 4 word problems in the first 10 minutes, that is a huge victory. Okay? But if you get stuck and you don't like it and you're like, oh, I can't remember, then go back to the beginning of the test and work out a couple problems. Give yourself 10 minutes. Work out 3 problems. Then go back and read each word problem again. Every time you read it, you're going to be able to pull something else out. Every single time. Okay? So do that. Pull stuff out. And then if you still don't know what to do, go work a couple more problems. Come back to the word problems. Read it a third time. Every single time you read it, you're going to be able to write something else down. And then it might all come together. Okay? Okay. I have office hours today at 1.